Multiverses. They're kind of everywhere in lots of different properties. It's become common in a lot of places, but it can also confuse people given that not every franchise always uses them. And PR does have a multiverse now. It has for a while. It's always had a fun connected universe, but in recent years we've started to slowly open the door to more multiverse stuff. And it's caused a little bit of confusion. I've wanted to do a video like this for a while just for fun to sort of talk about the basics of it. But there's a little bit of confusion mainly surrounding how the Boom comics relate to the main PR universe. And so I'm going to go over the basics of which PR universes they are and how that works a little bit. If I forget any small details, I'm sorry, or like any small universes, but I'm going to try to mention the major ones. So to start off, you have, of course, the main Power Rangers universe. This is the most self-explanatory one. This is the main TV show universe that makes up the lion's share of the shows, which included MMPR, through Jungle Fury, then Samurai and Megaforce, Ninja Steel, and the current series, as of this recording, Beast Morphers. That's like the main PRU, where most of the stories take place, and most of the continuity happened, and we didn't really verge away from that until after Jungle Fury, in which we had the second ever PR universe, at least within the TV show, which was RPM. RPM was set in its own continuity, and as of right now, that's the only PR team that's been made in that universe, but that was basically our second universe. Then you had the Dino Charge world, which at first was kind of confusing because they never said it was in a different continuity like RPM, so it led many people to believe that it really messed with time and erased like Dino Thunder because it wouldn't be possible with what they did in the finale. But Dino Charge is also on its own Earth, so you have those three main Earths for the show right now. The main universe, the RPM universe, and the Dino Charge universe. And then of course you have stuff like the PR movie from the 90s and the PR 2017 movie, which are also in their own alternate realities, but we haven't really crossed over with those or anything like that. And you know, there's various alternate realities within the show we might have visited, like the I Love Lothar world and stuff like that. Those are the kind of the ones I won't be mentioning in detail, but you know, there's all kinds of infinite possibilities. So that's like the basics of the main PRU, and starting with stuff like Dimensions in Danger and then Samurai also with the Clash of the Red Rangers, we started to travel between them, and that was pretty easy for most people to understand, I think. I don't think there was a terrible amount of confusion for that. Now what became confusing was the Boom comics, because there is arguably definitely some confusing elements around it, but I feel like after now it's pretty self-explanatory. The Boom universe is its own universe. It's a parallel universe to all of it. But the TV shows are still within continuity in terms of the major events. And I think that's the major thing I want to stress here, is the difference between canon and continuity. All of it is canon, meaning it's a real Power Rangers story. It's not a fan fiction or a very explicitly stated what if that's not in any way meant to be taken real. And I feel like because I'm into Marvel and DC stuff, like I just am easier with that because I'm used to them having so many different comics and TV shows that are all canon real stories to their own universes that may or may not cross over, but none of them are fake or a fake fan fiction story or anything. They are all canon. The Boom comics are canon, the main timeline's canon, RPM's canon, Dino Charge is canon. They're all canon. They're just different universes. The main way you can tell that it's a different universe is it's in modern times. Many times throughout they'll make modern references, they'll be using modern cell phones, which did not exist in the original 90s version of MMPR. So that's like an easy way to tell that it's in a different universe. But basically the way they lay it out is everything that you remember from the TV shows, all of them, happened just later. So like Power Rangers, if Mighty Morphin started in 2016 or 2015, whenever the comic started, so like everything still happened all the way through like Jungle Fury, SPD, whatever the end of the timeline is. That still happened, it was just years later to offset the fact that it's no longer the 90s. But like the events of the TV show did happen just modern. Like imagine we were watching, you know, Green with Evil. Everything in terms of the main Power Rangers plot happened in that episode. They just had cell phones. I think one of the reasons it's confusing is because sometimes they will have those little bubbles, which they will often have in comics, where they will say, you know, check out issue whatever to get further explanation on what this character just said. And they will have that. Like they'll say, check out Green with Evil Part 2, which means the TV show. So people think, oh, so this is from the TV show. But it just means that like the plot events, the main plot bullet points did happen. But the comics are kind of like everything from the show happened, but it's enhanced. Because obviously, as far as we know, the Draken story never happened in the TV show. The Omega Rangers story never happened. It's entirely possible we could see a live-action counterpart to that down the road where they enhance it. But as of right now, it's basically like everything you remember in the TV show, but it's enhanced. Enhanced with more character development, more character arcs, more stories that weren't seen in the in-between areas, but the main plots you remember did happen. And there's even a scene in Shattered Grid where Jen's laying out the timeline to show you, like, yeah, this is the rough timeline of what happened, to show you that, you know, when we're originally following MMPR before Shattered Grid, Lightspeed would still happen in the future. All the key points would still happen. But there could be arcs in the Boom version that we never saw. So it's like a parallel reality where the same key events happened, meaning that you have enough background knowledge to know certain things, but there's also going to be stuff that didn't happen in the main universe. And there could be changes to that with the Omega Ranger stuff with the changing timeline. But I can see how it can be a little bit confusing when they make it seem like the TV show is relevant to it, because it is, but just in a different way. So basically the way to describe it is, the comics are within continuity to the TV show, meaning key plot points and lore bits are the same, but it's not canon to it because, like I said, Draken did not happen in the TV show universe. That only happened in the Boom universe as of right now. Another way that you can tell, there was an annual story a while back called Forever Black, which was like Forever Red, except we met a bunch of different versions of the MMPR Black Ranger from across the multiverse, which confirms more different universes, most of which we did not get to see stories from, obviously. But in that one, Boom Zach met 90s Zach, which, you know, basically visually confirms for you that they are different universes. A lot of the reality crossing has been very minimal. Like I said, we've only barely touched on it on the TV show, and then we had stuff like that in the comic, but there hasn't been any major crossover between them outside of the 90s Zach appearing in that comic. And like I said, another reason I can see it being confusing is that, like, RPM is an alternate Earth completely from the main universe, but Boom basically is alternate of all of that, because you have the alternate Earth of the main PRU over here, and then for RPM you also have an alternate one, so you have like main PRU, RPM Earth, and then another one. So it creates like two of everything. Like take every Earth in the main PR multiverse, RPM's Dino Charges, the main ones, any ones in the future, and the Boom timeline has an exact duplicate of that one, just with different events. Other clarifying bits to be made aware of in case there was any confusion, because I've seen questions about that. For certain comic stories, Solo the Dragon, the JDF Tommy Oliver solo story, even though it's a comic, it is actually set in the main PR universe. I can see how that can be confusing. That's another way I can see why people are confused, because the Boom comics are following the Boom Earth's Tommy, but then you do the solo story, but that one is meant to be within the TV show canon, meaning that maybe Boom Tommy will have a different ending, who knows. And then you have Psychopath, which was the second, I guess unless you count, no, MMPR Pink was like an event series. So it was like the second ever like event book they did, and that is within the Boom continuity. So I can see why that can be confusing. So Solo the Dragon, main PRU, Psychopath, the Boom continuity. So if you did not like some of the choices you made there, things are still different in the main PR universe. And that's kind of a good example too. We got all this backstory and stuff in the Psycho Rangers, Psycho Green. As far as we know, none of that happened in the main PR universe. So you have all kinds of options. But I really like multiverse storytelling personally. I always find it really fun to see alternate takes on things, and it opens up a lot of freedom if they want to do something really different with the lore for a PR series. Like a Power Rangers TV show in the future could be set in a different Earth just because they want the freedom for the lore, and I like seeing different versions meet each other. And I feel right now we're in the infancy stages of PR using a multiverse, so I find it fairly early to follow, but I hope that might have clarified it or been like just a fun-ish information for you that I made this video, so hopefully you enjoyed it. If you have any further questions, leave them in the comments, I will answer them. But anyway, that is about it for this one, guys. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you get notifications for my videos. Until next time, Dawson Rider, signing out.